Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yes. Whenever it comes to writing a speech, all of us are nervous. All of us have our heads, our grayscale cells scratched up as we wonder how to write, what to write, how to convey our thoughts, what should be the message, and the message that I have in mind, is it being properly conveyed? Those are the thoughts that go through our mind when we actually look out for writing a speech. But do you know, we have all began to write by the age of 7. Surprised? How many of you have been actually given essays? How many of you? Please raise your hands. Can you raise your hands? All of us, we have written lines on cow, my home, my school, my mother, my best friend. So writing is nothing new to us. Monica, you'll need to highlight me, please. So the writing has never been something that is new to us. Here we go. So shall we begin? Does anybody, if you do not have, I'm giving you 30 seconds to fetch a notebook or a paper and a pen very quickly. Let's begin from the scratch, because you can quickly write down a few lines on cow in a piece of paper. 10 lines. 10 lines. Very quickly. When you're done, give me thumbs up signs. Are you guys done? That shouldn't be a difficult task. We all have always written something or the other on a cow. Please give me a heads up if you all have finished it. Toastmaster Aarti has finished it. You can write it down in the chat too. Kunal, Nikita, Sherin, Smita, all the guests are also requested to participate. Please feel free. All done? All right. Now, who will read it out to me? Let me share my screen and tell you what I have written. All those who have written these lines can start tick marking it. Cow as a domestic animal. Raise your hands. I can't make it interactive otherwise.
Toastmaster Nikita.
Yeah. Toastmaster Nikita, you have written. What have you written?
No, I've written a different set of lines. I can tell you. I wrote, cow gives us milk. Cows come in many shapes and sizes. They form the cattle industry in India. India is a large cow export market. Cows are also worshipped in India. Swiss cows make great cheese. Yeast variety and flavors depend on the age and the breed of the cow. Cow is now a topic of national interest in India. Mob lynchings have become common with cow vigilance. This is what I came up with.
Fantastic. But since we were 7-year-olds, this was what I was looking at. But keep off aside. Yes. Who else can give me their 10 lines? Who else? One more person. Very quick. Very quickly. Shireen, can you give me some 10 lines? Rajiv, Aarti, can you? Monica, can you give me what 10 lines you have written? There is no right and wrong in this. Look at my lines. Look at Nikita's lines. There is no right and wrong when you're writing a speech. They are your thoughts. They are your ideas. Remember that. It's your baby. Monica, have you written 10 lines? Give me at least 2 lines that you might have written that is different or similar to what I have written or what Nikita has spoken about.
Sorry, but I think Toastmaster Aarti want to say something.
Okay, Toastmaster Aarti, what would you like to say? All right, I'm moving forward because this will be very time consuming as nobody wants to actually be participative. Now, the lines that you have written, kindly arrange them. Arrange the lines that you have written so that it makes sense. When I told you to write 10 lines on a cow, we all wrote down something that came first to our mind. How will you segregate it? How will you arrange it? Can anyone do that? Start doing it. Now, for example, this is my write-up. We always go wrong when it comes to the flow. It is not the ideas, it's the flow. How can I arrange this? Can someone help me with it? Can someone tell me where I have mixed up line in such a way that I can actually sort them out in segments? Is my opening line correct?
Yes, Kalpana. So then if you are saying about milk, all the sentences regarding milk should come together.
Together, absolutely. So cow is a domestic animal. Maybe I can put the physical features of the cow also immediately with cow as a domestic animal. Correct? Can I do that?
Yeah.
Then bring all the milk and the milk products that a cow gives us together. Can we do that? And in the end, we can have that they are found in villages. They're also used as pet animals. Remember, this is a 7-year-old writing it. Have you guys understood what I'm trying to convey over here? We all had 10 random lines and we quickly wrote it down. When we are writing a speech, that is how we write a speech. When it comes to rearranging it, slot them out separately, because you will find that there are a bunch of ideas that actually fit together as you're writing, and that becomes your opening. Now, cow is a domestic animal. It is, I can put this, cows are now found in villages. Cows live in cow sheds. Cow is a very useful domestic animal, and those kind of, because when you have one opening line, you can then make at least 2 or 3 opening lines to make it the opening of a speech. Then we come down to what is important in a speech. That is the cow, why is it important, and how it gives us a source of food that we all consume. And that is the reason why we are having cows in our households. Are also, as Nikita has put it, we are having it roaring as a business. Conglomerates and cooperative societies have formed. I would now request Nikita to arrange her 10 lines and put it in chat box. Anyone who wants to arrange their lines that they have written can put it in chat box.
Yeah.
Or you can put it as you have written it down, slot it out, The first 2-3 lines are generally the opening, then it comes down to body, and then it comes down to close. Nikita, I would really request you to put the 10 lines in the chat, arrange it. So let us see the flow. That is how a flow is built.
Done, Kalpana, I've put it.
Done. All right, thank you. So let us have Nikita's flow. As for me, how I would have given the flow to this is, cow is a domestic animal. Cow eats grass. Cow has 4 legs, 2 horns, and a tail. Cow lives in a cow shed. That would be my opening lines. And then cow gives us milk. From milk, we get ghee, butter, buttermilk, rice pudding, ice cream, etc. Cows are currently found in villages. Cows are also pet animals to many. I have written it down, but I have now elaborated it to fit it and make it a 3-paragraph speech with combining points as opening, body, and close. Nikita, yours, have you put it up in chat? Yes. Let us see how Nikita has arranged her points. Nikita, have you?
Yes, Kalpana, it's already.
Yes. Cheese varieties and flavor even depend on age and breed of the cows. Swiss cows make great cheese. They come from cattle industry in India. All right, now I would like to draw your attention here before I go to objectives over here. Nikita has given us in her 10 lines 2 to 3 different approaches to her speech on cow. Can anyone spot the 2-3 different approaches or ideas that she has woven into her 10 lines of the speech of the cow? Can anyone do it? Anybody? Come on, Kunal. Please participate, otherwise it becomes boring. Come on. Anyone? Now,
I feel in the beginning we can mention the physical features of cow.
Is that you, Kunal?
Yeah, I see.
Please switch on your video as you talk. No, I'm talking about Nikita's. Mine was very elementary. We are having another speech on cow, and Nikita has given us 10 lines on cow, but she has, if you guys keenly look at the speech that is given there, she has very smartly given us 2-3 ideas that we can actually develop if we want to into a speech. Can any Toastmaster here spot those ideas? If you guys can spot those ideas, nothing like it. Or shall I spot it out to you, or Nikita, for that matter? Will you be able to tell what are the ideas you think you can develop upon?
I would like to take a guess.
Yes. All right,
So,
Kunal.
Yeah, I feel in the beginning we can put the benefits or the advantages that we get from cows, like India is a large export. No, not this one, but
Yes. So now hold your horses. First thing we can do when we are writing an essay or a speech on cow, export business of dairy products in India. Got it? So while we are talking, we need to simply zero in on keywords. This keywords then becomes your point to develop a speech upon. So that is one of the point, export. What can be the second point which we can develop from the 10 lines given to us by Nikita? Sherin, Imran?
The cattle industry.
The cattle industry, absolutely wonderful. So when you are deciding upon the cattle industry, what will it entail? Now, Kunal's point will entail something called research, right? Corporate research, profits and loss, future of the industry. Do you get this? You got it? From basic 10 lines, how we can develop a speech of our choice that is caliber and meat in it. All right. So now he has said about the corporate. So when he is going to write about the corporates, he can even compare the dairy products industry, that of India, with other countries like Australia, like Switzerland, the cheese, and how the other products are now being packaged and marketed. You said about the cattle industry. So Sherin, how would you like to take forward the cattle industry in a speech? How
So
will you like to take it forward? Have
you
an
can,
opening body. Now you have the thread of your speech. Yes, Sherin.
yeah, so maybe you can start with how it was in the past, how it is now.
Exactly. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And where the industry is going. Now, Sherin, with your idea, first starting at the past, as to how maybe from Stone Age, Iron Age, we don't know from what age, we decided to have cows or cattle for that matter as our pets, or we started to live with them. From the sheep or the buffaloes, the cows, the goat, how come only cow's milk has come and reached to the factories where the cows are actually being bred as Jersey cows, right? From that to there to the future of cattle, you can actually develop your speech based on emotional sides of cattle through the centuries, with how the cattle are being treated currently in a computer vacuum based milking system. Is it right or wrong? So you can take your speech in two ways: either how cattle has been a boon to us, or why are cattle being treated, or why is there cruelty to animals that support us. Got it? So if you can take it in two different directions, or you can have two speeches out of it, deciding on what is the tone of the speech that you want to speak on or speak about. Got it? So do you realize the very first thing when you want to write a speech is just become a 7 or 8-year-old. Write down the very basic thoughts that comes to your mind. As soon as you get the basic thoughts, you know you can start developing it the way you want it. You can develop it as export, cruelty to animals, cattle as they have supported us throughout. Got it? Now, there is one more point from Nikita's speech which I can still take upon. Though it may not be a good point in Toastmasters, because we do avoid discussion on that particular point, but I think everybody is aware of it, right? It is of national discussion, correct? So maybe if you want to write an article, remember, if you want to write an article, we can begin from 10 most basic lines to not just write a speech, but to also write an article. Has everyone understood? All right. Now we have already got 3 topics from just simple 10 lines of an essay called The Cow. All right. Let us come down to the next slide. Opening, body and close will be discussed by and by, but let us first see what should be your objective. Now you know out of the 10 lines, suddenly you are having an idea to present it. But you have to set the tone of your speech. If you don't set the tone of your speech, you might find it very difficult to present it. To set the tone, do you want it to be informative? That's the first one. And which speech title do you think will go into informative? Do you think Kunal's speech will fall into information? If Kunal takes up the point of the conglomerate, of the budding industry, of the cooperative milk society that has been formed, right? Then it becomes an informative speech. Appeal. Would you like to appeal? If you want to appeal, if I recall with Sherin, we discussed 2 points. The one was either how the cattle industry has boomed, or the plight of the cattle industry, or the cruelty to the cattle industry. So do you want that the cow should not suffer? Do you think that the cow should still live in the conditions that they were living in prehistoric days, then you will be highlighting the plight or the cruelty to cows with your supporting data statistics in the body of your speech. In the body of your speech. All right. And then end it with the appeal. That is your message. As for the information, remember each and every speech needs to have a message. As for the information, give the information and conclude with where India stands, where a cooperative milk society or milk products or dairy products are concerned in comparison or in competition with the world, and how we can go forward will be the best takeaway. All right. Now we come down to the third point, that is humorous. Can anyone tell me how to make a speech on cow humorous? Anybody? Let me take your imagination to a time when every household used to have a cow shed in their backyards. And what was the work or the responsibilities that your parents instilled in you when you had cows in your cow shed? Anybody? All right, I'll be coming to the humorous one. All right. Aarti, would you like to share something? Aarti seems to have switched on the camera. Would you like to share something humorous regarding this?
You said that we will have to imagine. So I am imagining that there is a cow shed in our home. And while playing, we were going there and hiding behind that cow and doing some mischief with that cow. And once it kicked me, just like that.
I'm so glad it did not take a bio break at that time. Yes.
Nowadays, their bio break is also very much important and very much helpful to us.
Correct. So when we are writing a humorous speech on cow, we can perhaps write, if you come to North India, you find them strewn all over on the roads like vehicles itself. Because the owners of the cows let them loose in the evenings for them also to have a walk in a park. They don't have a park, so they walk on roads. Based on that, based on how your mother considers a glass of milk to be the most important dietary plan in your life, can also be developed as a humorous speech. How a glass of milk has actually, absorbed Bonvita, Boost, Horlicks, even rose essences and vanilla essences and ice creams, and which part or which creation of milk do you dig can be converted into a humorous speech, beginning from cow, oh cow, or you can begin from milk, the Amul advertisement, and write down a completely humorous speech on cow. Now, thought-provoking. From what speech 10 lines that Nikita has given us, Nikita has told us it has become a national debate. How can we write something thought-provoking where we avoid religion as per the Toastmasters mission? Why, where, what, how we can, perhaps with the appeal that we have had, and how a cow is treated, why just cow should be given a treatment that is so special, and all the other animals, do they or don't they deserve it? Once you write something on cruelty of animal, come down to it, and yes, how will you add a twist to the tale? Can anybody give me a twist to the tale if I'm making a thought-provoking speech on dairy products? What is the latest diet fad? Everybody is turning into a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and
Vegan.
Vegan. Absolutely. So from cow, we can simply go off to the soya milk and make your audience think about switching from cow milk to soya milk. And you can add humor even in a thought-provoking speech saying, I hope my mother can also turn into a small soya milk fan. That is the first way I can get rid of the glass of milk. Do. Has everyone understood? Set the tone of your speech. Now we come down to the next point. That is, keep your audience in mind. We all always make a mistake of not keeping our audience in mind. So what happens if you go to a meeting that is being, say perhaps held by a scientist or maybe an astronaut, and he comes and tells us this physical or physics equations. He tells us this chemical combinations of the medicines, and we sit there and do what? We don't want to listen to words we do not understand. We want to listen to words that gives us some sort of an understanding as to what is it that you want to convey. Remember, we speak to express, not to impress. Our thoughts, our messages should be conveyed to the audience so that they have a takeaway. If their language or understanding of the language is at that level, you bring yourself down to that level. Never expect the audience to rise to that level. So keep it in mind. Who are you delivering it to? Are you delivering it to industrialists? Let us take the Kunal's first point of writing about the dairy industry. Then, of course, are you delivering it to accountants? Of course, profit, loss, balance sheet, use the words. Are you delivering it to me? Hey, come and tell me. If you drink milk, your company will increase. You can buy the shares of the company. And then you will have a great investment and you will also be rich. Give me that. Because I'm a layman. I don't want to know what does an accountant do. I don't want to know how the business manager is managing his exports. That's why I will look at Hamara Bajaj. I'm not going to look into how the scooter was made. Hey, I don't want it. I want my freedom when I ride the scooty as a woman. Sell it to me that way. Sell your speech as per who your audience is. Not as per what you want to say, but as per what they want to listen. So why are you delivering it? Why are you delivering it? Does it have a purpose? Is it thought-provoking? Is it appealing? Is it just for laughs? Is it informative? Who is your audience? Are they business conglomerates? Are they laymen? Are they engineers? Are they businessmen from other countries who would like to have a tie-up with your business? Or are they just Toastmaster audience? Accordingly, any speech needs to be crafted. If you keep these two objectives in mind, your speech never fails. Now we come down to Project Cow. These were the questions we already discussed. Thank you, Nikita, for a wonderful 10 lines, which allowed me to skip from going from standard 1 to standard 10 speech. So do you want to speak about the evolution of dairy industry, information about dairy products, profit-making dairy products industry, plight of the cows with modern technology, appeal to people to go vegan, or write about your life with mother and her obsession with you drinking a glass of milk every day, humor. So you see, from just one particular topic or one particular word or one particular 10 lines or 5 lines, we can actually develop 5 different kinds of speeches. Opening. I'm coming down to opening, story or a quote. Now we are going to Toastmasterify it. All right. What do we need in a Toastmaster? Because believe me, when we are giving a speech, we are giving it, if you're giving it in an office, the genre of the speech completely changes into a presentation. Here we give speech not just to pass a message, but also we can, so that we can articulate well, we can overcome our shyness, we can reach out to audience, we can develop a stage presence, we can develop a narration style, we can develop a style that is appreciated and applauded. So this is where we can experiment, unlike speeches in an office scenario where it is going to be mostly cut and dry. So do understand the differences when it comes to giving a speech or presentations. So here, story or a quote, make it attention grabbing. Ensure that they are hooked with you with the very first line they have opened. Begin with a thought-provoking quote or story. Personal stories will generate more interest. Not just generate more interest. I think personal stories have a tendency to have an emotion in the voice, a joy in the voice, a fun in the voice, because we are connecting to the story, because it is our story. So as far as possible, dig into your experiences to pull out an experience, usko tod marod ke, see that you twist it and turn it to adjust it to the topic that you are going to choose to give a speech. All right, I have given some opening lines. And if someone can add to it, Nikita, Sharon, Kunal. So here it goes. Foamy, frothy, fresh glass of milk stood in front of me. Can you all read it, guys?
Yes.
Calcium-rich glass of white liquid stood in front of me as my iron-rich, iron-cast mother glared at me to finish every drop of it. There is a similar here between calcium and iron, you know, though of course iron is mother and calcium is something that she is ensuring that we get it from our glass of milk. And milk, 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 mother of curd, paneer, ghee, butter, yogurt, ice cream, pudding, rice pudding, solvent of Bournvita, Horlicks, rose essence, dip of biscuits stood regally in front of me. What do you think of it? These can be your opening lines, depending on what kind of a speech you want to write. Humorous speech, your mother forcing down, you have got it. You want to talk about calcium and iron, but even want a personal touch of a story while you develop this story of into how it developed into industry. You can ask, my mother glared at me. I wondered who got the cattle in the home first. And I decided to research. I was surprised to see that Verghese Kurian was the first person who came to Gujarat in Anand and started a cooperative milk society, today popularly known as Amul. And then you can go on into how the milk industry developed in India. But how have you started? You've started it with a story of your own, a line of your own. Milk, 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 milk. As my mother ran behind me with a cup of milk, I thought, oh, milk, you're not just the mother. You're the mother of all these products. Humor. Think differently. Write differently. Any questions on opening lines and any inputs on opening lines? Nikita, Sharon, Aarti, Kunal, how would you like to have your openings? You all can read this also. So the body. Once you write about Verghese Kurian, the second point. Now always make points in information. First about the points that we Indians have developed. The industry that we have developed. How did we develop it? Who are our competitors? How can we take it forward? Ending it with the very first funny beginning that you might have had. Mummy's glass of milk is a world famous glass of milk. Do you understand how you can develop the body? Toastmasters? Any questions on this? As it is, Nikita herself, if she wants to develop her own 10 lines, she can develop it with any of the starting or the opening to grab the attention of the audience. Come down to how it is developed as an industry. This glass of milk of mine is being now sold in Tetra Packs. Always connect to the audience, because the audience is going to have a visual of a Tetra Pack and drinking milk. And oh my God, I even get buttermilk on the go while I'm running to catch a train. Right? So what happens over here when you use your day-to-day connect with the milk and put that in your speech, the audience begins to connect with you because it is who they are. Thought-provoking. Have you seen a cow lying on the street? Have you seen a cart being pulled by the cows or the buffaloes? Do you think technology can replace the cows? Thought-provoking. Do you think cruelty is allowed? Then we come down to the appeal. Appeal for them to turn to vegan. Maybe turning vegan can make. So find the supporting 2 points. Story of how you thought of becoming a vegan. The other day I went out with my friends and I, a fan of milk, was really taken down by my friends for being a fan of the milk, and they cited. And I realized as I Googled the cruelty of the animals. So what can be my glass of milk? And they told me, you can try the soya bean milk. Have you guys tried the soya bean milk? Do you know that too is available in Tetra Pak? Do we get all the vitamins that we are looking for in our glass of milk? Do we really need to torture the cows? You get it? So when you are making an appeal, look elsewhere. Find how you can turn this into an appeal. And humor. Yes, here we come down to humor, the last line. Despite all my efforts to move the cows, move means to move the cows from my backyard to avoid drinking a drop of the white liquid, the cows stayed put as bone strengthening pets to fill our pate or stomachs. So humor can be added. As my mother expected me to clean the cow shed because the person who tended to the cows was absent that day. How I slipped on cow dung and I measured the length of my body down on the floor. Got it? So humor as to how cows were first there as pets, how they were an indirect sense of torture to you, and you can complete it by saying, but when I completed the work and came back and a tall glass of milk or Horlicks or Bonvita or ice cream or rabdi or kheer stood in front of me, I forgot all my woes that I went through while I was tending to these cows. Any questions so far? I wanted all of you to write it down, but I can see that most of you guys are, except Nikita, Kunal and Sharon. So otherwise, if you can write down 2 points each in humor, I'll give you some time. Can you write it down about the information? Just 2 points. Toastmaster Aarti now seems to be a bit enthusiastic. So, but here we are. There can be 2 paragraphs, which means 2 supporting stories. Do not go beyond 2 supporting stories, because in Toastmasters, it is 5 to 7 minutes. That means 650 words maximum. Your research fund stories all comprises in these 2 paragraphs. You know what happens when we begin our research? We find that we have got 100 points. You know how Google is, right? Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It goes on, and it actually gives you a headache. So what is it that we are supposed to do when we come down to that much or an overdose of information? Go to up to page 2 or 3. There might be repeated points. Pick up those repeated points and know that rest of the pages is just going to have the same thing told differently. Then pick up the 2 points that you feel is going to be an impactful point or points, and then develop those points. All right. Any questions so far? Hope I'm not boring you guys. No? Come on, I need some answers. Everybody is on mute.
No, certainly not.
Certainly not.
Yeah, we are just thinking as to how to process this very good information. So it requires time for brain also to keep pace with you.
All right, here goes. We are coming down to the closure. How do we close a speech? Generally, there is a tendency to, make the closing at least 5 lines or 6 lines or very, very huge. Don't. Keep your closing very simple. Let's see how we can keep it simple. It just comprises of 10 or 15%. There should not be any lengthy remarks. You can start off with a quote that you began on, or you can just have one definite, dynamic yet simple line. For example, if I am going to end this, I'm going to say my speech might be annoying or informative. I'll make it interesting enough for them to be glued to my words. So how will I put it? I might have annoyed you, or you might have found the information, but I'm glad that I got your attention for the 7 minutes of your time, because this is a training session. This is how I'll be completing my speech. Just one line. Got it? Or if there is a quote that you might have said somewhere while you were writing the speech, that quote might be the core of your speech. Pick up that core from between the speech, add it at the end, and say, that's why, or here is why, here is what I think, this is what I thought, and that is why I stand in front of you, and this is why I'm speaking what I have to tell you. What happens? We wrap it up very neatly. There is a saying that when you are speaking, repeat, then repeat, then repeat. Repetition makes it firm in the mind of listeners. So if you have got a quote, if you have got something that is very inspiring, if you have got just one line to sum up the stories or the supporting statistics and data that you have written, kindly ensure that you quote it at the end to tell your audience, this is what I was talking about. This is what I want to convey. This is my message to all of you. So this is how the flow of a speech slowly culminates into an ending. Opening, make it witty, make it interesting. Lend me your ears, said Mark Anthony. Ensure that they listen to you, that they are hooked to your speech. That one line or 2 lines of opening. Then you come down to body. Why? Why did you think of it? What did you think when you decided to take this as a subject? What made you think out of the box for this particular topic? So if I just took cows, but where all I went into industrialization of it. I went into cruelty of animals. We went into humor side of it. We went into nationalistic issues of it. Can you see one simple cow? So when you let your thoughts wander to a 360 degrees, you will realize that there are a lot of information in one particular word called cow. or milk. And then don't get lost. Nikita had 10 lines, but out of that, we segregated 2 main important points. So if you're writing about industrialization, please don't match in cruelty of animals. Stick to industrialization. That is where the khichdi happens, you know. That is where we are having too many ideas spoiling the broth, like the too many cooks spoil a broth. So if you're decided on industrialization of the dairy products, stick to it. If you're deciding on the cruelty to animals, stick to it. If you're deciding as the national issue, stick to it. Please do not start mixing up all the 3 points once you find that you have zeroed in on an idea from the 10 lines on simple cow or maybe any other topic you might have written. All right. Now basic tips. Now let us see what are the basic tips. We speak to express, not to impress. We all end up, you know, I have realized one thing. We all end up writing an article. Supposing if I'm writing about the information, I'm just making these numbers up, so they are not actual factual numbers. The industry of Amul is at least having a turnover of about 2 crores 50 lakh per annum. The industry has grown so wide that it is sending its products to almost all the world. It currently is in competition with the Swiss products as well as the Australian products, but it stands out for its unique taste, especially the ghee or the purified butter is now becoming a rage even among the Westerners. Now, when I'm writing this as information, I am not conversational. If you give me 10 points of information, I'll sleep. So how do you go? How do you say the same thing? You want an industry that has 2 crores 50 lakhs of turnover? Yes. That's what I'm talking about. When you talk about Amul, see, I'm making it a conversation. My points are turning into me talking to my audience. And let me tell you, Amul has made such progress, more than the progress that we make in our progress cards. So you're adding humor. Has made such progress that today it stands among the best industries. So now we are making this into a conversation. Always converse with your audience. Don't make it into an article. This much percentage of employment was generated by Amul. There is a decline right now in the share prices, but the share price market is still dropped. What do? We investors. That is how you make it into a conversation. Any questions on this? Use inclusive lines, make it conversational, and use simple words. This is the colorful language. That is the way we use it. And last, here is how you can improve on writing skills, or at least colorful or descriptive skills. Read something funny every day, read a story every day, read information every day, read memes every day. This will increase your capability as a writer. Here is what we do when we want words to establish flow and how to write short sentences. Remember, long sentences, there is a tendency that you might forget what you have to speak. So short sentences will make you convey your thoughts or speak easily. Once you are in your comfort zone, the speech will flow. And these are the 8 excellent tips for speech writing, which I hope everybody looks into. Set your speech objectives, be clear. That is, don't mix up points. That's why I meant clarity. If you're writing about industry, industry. If you're writing about cattle industry, cattle industry. Cruelty to animals, cruelty to animals. Know your audience, know what you want your audience to take away. That message should be absolutely clear. Grab and hold the audience attention. Establish and support your key messages. Use visuals. Yes, use visuals. You can have a horn or a tail, and swish, swoosh, swoosh, you can have it. You can just do anything to make it visually appealing. Like if you're saying a story and saying a story about kings, you can always have a knife to use it as a sword, right? Or you can just take up a kid's shield. Or if you're talking about Hanuman, you can take up the gada or or his warrior instrument, and then you will find that you are bringing in visual appeal. So wrap it up nicely. Yes. Here is your last point. Write, revise, revise, write, revise. Keep revising it. Keep revising it. Keep writing it till you know it is fit to be delivered as a speech to your audience. Any questions? Any questions?
No, Kalpana.
No?
I don't.
Okay. So I'll wrap it up, and I now hand over the stage back to Toastmaster of the Day, Nikita.